Hello and welcome to Public Report. I'm Patty Hutton, your host. Today we will be talking about the issue of schools and education with the topic of character education. Our guest today with us is Mary Diez, co-director of Leadership Academy for Character Education. Welcome to the show.
Thanks very much, Patty.
Please tell our viewers a little bit about yourself and your work with Alverno College.
Well, I've been involved in education for 45 years, first as a middle and high school teacher, and then in various roles at Alverno. And I'm currently Dean of the School of Education at Alverno. And in addition to that, I work with a number of programs with K-12 schools, and LACE, the Leadership Academy for Character Education, is one of those programs.
Could you tell our viewers a little bit more about LACE?
LACE is a program that's designed to help teams of teachers with their principal from schools to identify a focus area around values and character, and then develop a program that's integrated across the school to really help students and faculty develop a caring community that supports learning.
And your work also with the Wisconsin Character Education Partnership?
Well, the Wisconsin Character Education Partnership is a wonderful association that supports character education in the state. Let me just read you their mission statement because I think it's really good.
Okay.
We promote the intentional, proactive effort by public and private K-12 schools and school districts to instill in all Wisconsin students core universal ethical values such as integrity, honesty, fairness, responsibility, and respect for themselves and for others through character education. So character education is really a way to help students learn the things we used to think everybody learned at their mother's knee, but that we really need as a society to reinforce. And it really supports the whole child, not just intellectual and academic, but the personal and social and emotional life of children as well.
Has there been a successful role model that you've been using for your LACE program?
Yes, as a matter of fact, we're replicating a program that was begun in St. Louis about 10 years ago.
Okay.
Dr. Martin Berkowitz, who used to be at Marquette University and now is at the University of Missouri St. Louis, designed this program, and we're actually sharing the speakers with that program. So a speaker will come to Milwaukee, say, on a Wednesday or Thursday, and he will have been in St. Louis the 2 days before. So it's a program that's jointly designed.
And what are some of the effects that you've seen already from the LACE program?
Well, it's a little hard to see things already because we've had 1 year.
Okay.
So our first year teams are just implementing. But what they found in St. Louis was that when schools really implemented character education, 3 things happened. First, there was greater attendance. Kids came to school. Secondly, there were fewer disciplinary actions, lots fewer suspensions, what we used to call it jug when I was in high school, you know, staying after school, whatever it might be, and increase in student performance academically. Those 3 things shoot right up when schools attend to the social-emotional character side.
And what are the ethical values that are being instilled through these programs?
Well, again, I think the list from Character Partnership is really a good one. Integrity and honesty, responsibility and respect and fairness also. But each school really thinks through what kind of spin they want to put on it, which language they use for it. I work with a charter school in Milwaukee as their board chair, and respect and responsibility are the 2 that school started with as really capturing what they wanted to work with their high school students.
Okay. Could you tell us a little bit about why you think there's a need to promote this type of character education in the schools?
I think every time you look at a news report and you hear about either bullying or students committing suicide because they were bullied, or you think about the school districts where there's been rampant cheating, both of those things would be an indication that we need to attend to, in the first case, respect, and in the second, integrity and honesty. When you have respect, schools are really a good place to be, and everyone feels safe and can engage in good work. But when there's no respect, it's as unpleasant as an office where there's no respect. And if you think about responsibility, if children are really working to do their best work and to develop themselves fully, and they're supported in that, then schools really produce students who want to come to school and who are excited about what they're doing. One of our speakers is named Ron Berger, and he wrote a book called The Ethic of Excellence. He talks about the importance of good work, and there's a project at Harvard called the Good Work Project. And he defines good work as, first of all, work that's of high quality, that students really put good effort into it and produce a good product, whether it's a piece of writing or a project. But then he also says it's good for the student, that it develops them, helps them see their talent, stretches them in some way, and it's good for others, it's good for the world. So it makes a contribution. So when kids have work that's really meaningful and they're supported in a caring atmosphere and environment, then wonderful things begin to happen, and they want to come to school and they don't get into trouble, and their academics improve.
They're more eager to learn, their self-confidence boosts.
Yes.
And I imagine the conflicts amongst the students decline.
Yes, and I think you have to, just as adults need to work on conflict, you have to be conscious about how you work on conflict with students. Another of our speakers, Tina Owen, is principal or teacher leader at Alliance School in Milwaukee, and they practice something that's called restorative discipline. I don't know if you're familiar with restorative justice, but the idea is that you don't just punish people who make mistakes or do bad things, but rather you bring the perpetrator together with the person who was injured. They come to understand each other, and together they talk about what would be an appropriate consequence for the action. That's much more healthy than creating the kind of punishing atmosphere that can sometimes happen in schools. There have to be consequences for bad actions, but for a student to understand, when I make a bad choice, it impacts others. That's very powerful for their later life.
And it creates the full reconciliation between the two parties.
Yes.
Why do you specifically work with the school principals?
Well, actually, our program requires that a principal be there, but we really want a team, and that is one difference between our program and the St. Louis program. They've really only allowed principals to come. But because at Alverno we've had a number of other projects where we've had teams, we've really come to see that if you want to have something happen in a school, you need the principal, because the principal can really stop things from happening. But you need a good cross-section of teachers also supporting, or other staff and personnel supporting, so that it isn't just one person coming back and saying, I heard this wonderful thing, you should all come along, but rather that we're a team and we're creating this. Our assignments that we give to the teams or the principals, we have some single principals, have them work through the design of the program, and they're supposed to establish a team back at the school site, but we think it's really important to have the team there as well. But the principal really sets the tone for the school. And if you don't have the principal, we've found in other projects, people get excited and then nothing gets supported, and so it's very difficult.
They're the leadership, but the teachers are the ones that are seeing the students day in and day out, and probably really have a fingerprint on what is happening amongst the students that way. What success have you seen with some of the schools that have been implementing this program? Could you have some more examples that you could share with us?
I have a couple that you might find interesting. One is a local school. The Wisconsin Character Education Partnership actually sponsors Promising Practices and the State School of Character. Then there's also at the national level a National School of Character. And we have in Milwaukee one of the National Schools of Character, Milwaukee College Prep. It's a charter school, and it's in a high poverty area, very, very much a minority school. And when you visit this school, it's wonderful. You see the kids who are able to talk about their own mission statements. They write a mission statement every year. They're posted along the walls, and the students can tell you what their mission in life is and how they're working toward it, which is very powerful. Every homeroom has above it the year those kids will graduate from college. So they're being encouraged to think about college. And they also have a common pledge that they say every day that belongs to the school as a whole, and their teachers reinforce the values that they look at, strong among which are doing your best and respecting others. That school, high poverty, high minority, is also high performing. Their average test scores are above the Wisconsin average test scores. Now that doesn't mean they're resting on their laurels, because I talk with the teachers there and they're identifying the areas where they need to improve, but they're already ahead of the game. And again, that's what we saw with the St. Louis schools, is that they move forward in that way. There's another story that comes out of the St. Louis schools that I think is really important. One of their teachers, one of their principals who came up to help us orient the first people who were thinking about coming into LACE, told a story about taking over a school, middle school, that was really in very bad shape. Didn't have a good morale either among the teachers or the kids. And the very first semester when they opened, they cleaned the school. They made sure that there were activities at the beginning that got people, that signaled this is different, it's not business as usual. But the principal said that she looked at the records the first semester, and she had, out of 500 kids, 700 individual Fs. Ooh. But she said it wasn't because they weren't capable or weren't learning, it was that they weren't turning their homework in. Now this is a problem many schools have. And so she worked with the teachers, and she said, we're going to introduce zeros are not permitted, the ZAP program. Now that didn't mean that the teachers couldn't give zeros. What it meant was the kids had to do their homework. And so she has the teachers send in a ZAP report as the kids come in, and if they don't have their homework, sends in a ZAP report, and that means they have to go sit with the principal at lunch and do their homework. They don't get to go in the line until they finish their homework, and if the line's down and they haven't finished, they go get their food and they keep working while they eat. Well, that reduced the number of kids not doing their homework, conveyed to the teachers this principal really cared, and it also, she said, allowed her to see when not doing homework was a sign of something more serious. And she said, I knew then, early in the semester, where I had to do interventions or help kids with problems that were larger than just, I don't feel like doing my homework. So it's taking on the problems you see in the school and being creative about saying, what's a positive solution? Kids should do homework because it helps them practice what it is they're learning. But if you only do it from a compliance standpoint and not from a standpoint of, let's build your responsibility, let's build your respect, then you're missing some of what could happen in school.
You're giving the students an opportunity to make goals for themselves and to strive to achieve them, and stepping in to support them and not allowing them to fail. Absolutely.
This principal said, I looked around and I said, how are we, as the adults in the building, allowing so many children to choose failure? Now that put a spin on it for the teachers that said, it's not just we want them to comply, we're allowing them to choose failure.
Great to hear what you're doing with character education. Thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, you're welcome. I enjoyed it.
This has been Public Report. I'm Patty Hutton, your host. Today we have been talking about the issue of education in schools with the topic of character education. Our guest with us has been Mary Diez, co-director for the Leadership Academy for Character Education.
The material on this program does not necessarily reflect the views of WWRS.